This episode is different. We are not covering a city or a landscape or a route. We are spending an entire day inside a single park. 160 acres of constructed storytelling in the heart of Southern California. Every zone is a different world. Every ride is a chapter. We will walk from the very first gate to the very last light. And by the end, you will understand exactly why 250 million people have walked through these gates since 1955. Stay with us. It is 7 in the morning. It is raining. It is cold. Yet, none of that matters. Because behind those gates is a place that does not follow the rules of the ordinary world. This is Disneyland Anaheim, California. And we are going in. Main Street is where the park concentrates its character presence. Disney deploys over 1,000 character appearances each day across its parks worldwide. Each character is staffed by a trained cast member, Disney's word for employee. Goofy was introduced in 1932. He is one of the original 5 Disney characters alongside Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Pluto. Here on a rainy Tuesday morning, he is working the crowd as if it were peak July. A note before we continue. Several rides and attractions in this episode contain extended visual sequences. To comply with copyright requirements, all original park audio has been removed. What you will hear instead is original music composed specifically for this film. The visuals are uncut. Sit back and watch them as they were. We'll guide you through. Disneyland opened on the 17th of July, 1955. It was built on a 160-acre orange grove in Anaheim, California. Walt Disney designed it as a place where parents and children could experience wonder together. No theme park like this had existed anywhere in the world. But the opening day was a disaster. Overcrowding, forged tickets, rides breaking down. The press called it Black Sunday. Walt Disney called it a good problem to solve. City Hall is the first building on the left as you enter Main Street. It is where guests go to report lost items, accessibility needs, and complaints. It is also where Disney began its guest relations program. The idea that every visitor is not a customer, but a guest. Beside it stands the Disneyland Fire Department. Walt built a personal apartment above it. He built it so he could watch guests arriving below. The apartment is preserved exactly as it was when he was alive. Main Street, USA is modeled on an American town of the 1900s. The street is served by 4 forms of vintage transportation: the horse-drawn streetcar, the fire truck, the horseless carriage, and the Main Street Omnibus, a double-decker vehicle that runs the length of the street. None of these vehicles travel more than a few hundred meters. Their purpose is not transportation. It is atmosphere. At the end of Main Street, where it opens into the Central Plaza, stands the Partners statue. Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse, side by side, looking forward. Walt's arm is outstretched. His hand points toward the castle. The inscription reads, "We believe in our idea a family park where parents and children could have fun together. The castle behind it is Sleeping Beauty Castle, the visual symbol of Disneyland. Sleeping Beauty Castle stands 77 feet tall. That is not an imposing height. Cinderella Castle at Walt Disney World in Florida stands 189 feet. By comparison, the Anaheim Castle feels more intimate. Yet, standing at the end of Main Street, it does not read as small. The Imagineers achieved this through a technique called forced perspective. The upper floors of the castle were built at progressively smaller scale. The bricks on the third floor are physically smaller than the bricks on the ground floor. Your brain assumes otherwise. The same technique is applied to every building on Main Street, USA. The park was designed to feel grander than its physical dimensions allow. The interior of Sleeping Beauty Castle tells the story of Aurora and the dark fairy Maleficent. The walkthrough was first opened in 1957. Along a narrow stairway and winding corridor, handcrafted dioramas tell each chapter of the story. The scenes are lit individually, some barely 30 centimeters deep. There is no audio guide. There are no screens. The storytelling is entirely visual. And yet it holds the attention of every child and most of their parents. Disneyland is divided into 8 themed lands. Main Street, USA, Tomorrowland, Fantasyland, Mickey's Toontown, Adventureland, New Orleans Square, Frontierland, and Star Wars: Galaxy's Edge. Park maps are available free at the main gate and at City Hall. They include the full ride and attraction listing, show times, dining locations, and accessibility information. The Disneyland app provides the same information in real time, including current wait times for every attraction. On a busy day, some rides will carry a 90-minute queue. The Lightning Lane, Disney's paid queue skip system, can reduce that to under 15 minutes. Whether to purchase is the first strategic decision of any Disneyland day. Snow White's Enchanted Wish opened with the park in 1955. It is one of Disneyland's original dark rides, an indoor journey through a story on a slow-moving vehicle. The ride tells the story of Snow White, the evil queen, and the 7 dwarfs. It was extensively refurbished in 2021 with new effects and revised projection technology. The queue tends to run between 30 and 50 minutes on a typical day. For a ride that lasts approximately 4 minutes, that ratio is significant. But the 4 minutes are dense with storytelling. My wife is in the queue once again. She's moving slowly through a winding outdoor line, umbrella still up. Other guests around her, families, a few couples. Peter Pan's flight is consistently rated among the top 5 attractions in the entire Disneyland park. The ride dates to 1955. It has operated, with only brief closures, for 7 decades. Guests board suspended ships that move through darkened scenes of London and Neverland. The sensation of flight is achieved through hanging vehicles and illuminated floor maps. It is a 4-minute ride. Its average wait time exceeds 1 hour. The King Arthur Carrousel dates to 1875. Walt Disney purchased it, restored it, and placed it at the heart of Fantasyland. Fantasyland alone contains 8 major attractions. The most popular adult ride is the Matterhorn bobsleds, a steel roller coaster that opened in 1959. For children, the consensus is Dumbo, the Flying Elephant, the aerial ride around a central hub. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride has operated at Disneyland since opening day, July 17, 1955. It is based on Kenneth Graham's 1908 novel The Wind in the Willows. Guests board a motor car and careen through Toad Hall, a courtroom, a railway collision, and ultimately, hell. Literally, flames, devils, and a final verdict of damnation. It is one of the only Disney attractions where the protagonist does not win. That ending has kept people coming back for 70 years. The Florida version was removed in 1998. Anaheim kept it, which tells you something about what this park understands that others do not. We went back to King Arthur Carrousel. Here, all 68 horses are originals. All are unique in pose and decoration. No two are identical. Walt Disney instinctively understood that authentic, granular detail drives deep emotional attachment. And that emotional attachment is what sustains the multi-billion-dollar economy around this place. There are no rules in Fantasyland about how old you have to be to ride the carousel. There are no rules in Fantasyland about anything, really. That is rather the point. Pinocchio's daring journey opened at Disneyland in 1983. It follows the original 1940 animated film, The Wooden Puppet Who Wanted to Be a Real Boy. The ride passes through scenes of Geppetto's workshop, Pleasure Island, and the belly of Monstro the Whale. At some point in a Disneyland day, a quiet shift occurs. Adults stop calculating whether a ride is worth the queue time. They stop making economic decisions. The park's architecture, the constant stimulation, the absence of the outside world, the immersive sound design, has slowly dismantled their defenses. The park was designed to do exactly this. Walt Disney called it the architecture of emotion. The Disneyland Railroad has operated since the park's opening day in 1955. It circles the entire park on a narrow-gauge track, making 4 stops. But just as it was our turn to get on board, there was an announcement from the ground staff. It is closing temporarily for maintenance. This is worth noting for any first-time visitor. Not every attraction will be available on every visit. Disney publishes a daily closure list on its website and app. Checking it the evening before your visit is strongly recommended. Even in the world's most precisely managed entertainment resort, things do not always go to plan. On the western edge of Fantasyland lies Tomorrowland. The zone was designed in 1955 as a vision of the future. Atomic energy, space exploration, and personal flight. What makes Tomorrowland unusual is that its original vision has already been overtaken by reality. The future it imagined is now the past. But one attraction here remains genuinely singular. The Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage uses the original 1959 submarines. 8 vessels, each 40 feet long. Guests board through a porthole hatch and sit facing circular windows. The submarine does not dive. It sits in a shallow projection lagoon. But the tactile reality of climbing into a metal tube, combined with blue light hitting your face through the glass, completely overrides that logical knowledge. Your body accepts a story that your rational mind knows is not true. Autopia opened in 1955 as Disneyland's vision of the personal automobile future. It is sponsored today by Honda. Guests drive small gasoline-powered cars along a fixed track. The cars run on a central guide rail. Steering is possible, but meaningful deviation is not. It is less a driving experience than a driving simulation. Autopia has height and age restrictions. Riders must be at least 54 inches tall. All Disneyland attractions carry specific height, health, and safety restrictions. These are listed in the park map and on the Disneyland app. Guests with heart conditions, back problems, or pregnancy are advised to skip a number of the higher intensity attractions. Okay, let's keep moving. Are you guys tired yet? Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters opened in 2005. Guests board slow-moving two-person vehicles and use handheld laser blasters to shoot at marked targets across multiple themed rooms. Each target carries a point value. Scores are displayed on a screen mounted in the vehicle. The highest point targets are typically small, fast-moving, or placed at awkward angles. The top score bracket, Galactic Hero, requires over 100,000 points. Star Tours. The Adventures Continue is a motion simulator ride set within the Star Wars universe. Guests board a 56-seat Star Speeder vehicle. The vehicle is housed in a full-scale recreation of a Rebel Alliance transit hangar. C-3PO and R2-D2 are present at the boarding gate in animatronic form. Once inside, guests don 3D glasses and are subjected to approximately 4 minutes of projected film combined with full hydraulic motion simulation. The ride has over 200 possible narrative combinations. No two journeys through the Star Wars galaxy are identical. The Plaza opened in 1955. It has not closed since. Budget between $20 and $35 per person for a main meal. Disneyland operates more than 50 dining locations across the park. We found a seat. We ate. We did not want to get up. South of the Central Plaza lies Adventureland. The zone is themed around mid-century European notions of the exotic, colonial-era tropics, carved wood, palm thatch, and rope bridges. Walt Disney described it as a world of wonders in a setting of exotic nature. It contains some of the park's most enduring attractions, and on a wet January afternoon, several of them are temporarily closed. The Jungle Cruise was suspended due to the weather. The Enchanted Tiki Room would have to wait. What remains open is enough. The Adventureland Treehouse has stood since 1960. It is a self-guided walk-through attraction built around an artificial tree, 60 feet tall, with over 300,000 individually applied leaves. There are no vehicles, no guide, no ride. Guests simply climb. Pirates of the Caribbean opened at Disneyland in 1967. It is a water ride. Guests board shallow draft boats and drift through a series of large indoor diorama scenes. The attraction features an estimated 1,200 audio-animatronic figures. Audio-animatronics, Disney's proprietary robotic performer technology, was developed specifically for the 1964 World's Fair. The ride traverses 4 individual show buildings. It includes one significant drop, a descent of approximately 6 feet, at the beginning of the journey. When there is movement, fire, and sound coming from every possible angle, the brain abandons its attempt to categorize the artificiality of the space. It simply accepts the reality of the scene. After 60 years, Pirates of the Caribbean remains the most visited attraction in the history of theme parks. New Orleans Square is the smallest of Disneyland's themed lands. It covers approximately 3 acres. It was added to the park in 1966, the last project Walt Disney personally supervised before his death. The architecture evokes the French Quarter of New Orleans, Louisiana. Wrought iron balconies, gas lamp posts, narrow streets, and warm low light. 300 years of French, Spanish, and American architectural history compressed into 3 acres in Anaheim, California. The result is unconvincing as geography and entirely convincing as atmosphere. And here's why that atmosphere holds. The Haunted Mansion queue extended from the gate, through the gardens, and along the exterior of the building. 1 hour, in the rain. The guests in white plastic ponchos moved incrementally forward. But the queue itself is the first act. Researchers who study waiting behavior have established a consistent finding. Unoccupied time feels significantly longer than occupied time. The Haunted Mansion queue zigzags through a sculpted garden of cast iron fencing, tilted gravestones, and flickering amber lanterns. The Haunted Mansion opened in 1969. Guests board 2-person doom buggies that move on a continuous track through 23 scenes. The attraction features 999 happy haunts, ghostly figures, apparitions, and special effects. It is not frightening. It is theatrical. Disney describes its tone as ghost comedy, a blend of gothic atmosphere and deliberate absurdity. The 1-hour queue does not delay the experience. The queue is actually the first act of the experience. That distinction matters. Frontierland extends along the western bank of the rivers of America. It represents the American frontier of the 19th century, the period of westward expansion, the steamboat era, and the mythology of the open West. Disneyland opened Frontierland in 1955 as one of its 4 original themed lands. The best time to visit Disneyland, in terms of crowd levels, is January through early March. School holidays, summer months, and the period between Thanksgiving and the New Year bring the highest attendance figures. A single-day park ticket in January can start from $104. Peak season tickets can exceed $219 per day. The Mark Twain Riverboat is a replica of a 19th century Mississippi steamboat. It is approximately 150 feet long. It carries approximately 300 passengers. The vessel travels a half-mile loop around Tom Sawyer Island on the rivers of America. Those rivers are not natural. They were excavated and filled as part of the original park construction. The sailing ship Columbia, visible at the dock, replicates the first American vessel to circumnavigate the globe in 1787. In the rain, there is no queue. On the upper deck of the Mark Twain, the park looks different. From the river, Disneyland is less a collection of attractions and more a landscape. The wilderness of Tom Sawyer Island on one bank. The red rocks of Big Thunder Mountain on the other. The sky hanging low and gray above all of it. Anaheim sits in the middle of Los Angeles County. It is one of the most densely developed metropolitan areas in North America. From the deck of the Mark Twain, none of that is visible. For now, let's enjoy 1 full minute of uninterrupted river cruise. And remember, use the timestamps if you want to skip to the next section. Frontierland's flagship attraction, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, did not open until 1979. The roller coaster runs on a track that winds through a red sandstone mountain, modeled on the landscapes of Monument Valley in Utah. Disney bills it as the wildest ride in the wilderness. Its top speed is approximately 36 miles per hour. We are now making our way towards the biggest act where 2 major rides, a full world, and Disney Park climatic attraction is located. For that, we need to cross over to the galaxy's edge. So follow us. Star Wars: Galaxy's Edge opened at Disneyland in May of 2019. It occupies 14 acres. The single largest expansion in Disneyland's history. The land is set on the planet Batuu, a fictional frontier world established in the Star Wars universe. Its design required more than 3,000 individual craftspeople working over 4 years. The estimated construction cost was $1 billion. Walking into Galaxy's Edge at nightfall produces a specific kind of disorientation. The scale of the built environment exceeds what the eye expects from a theme park. The streets are 40 feet wide. The buildings are 40 feet tall. Every surface is distressed, aged, and detailed. At the center of the land stands the Millennium Falcon, The prop is a full-scale recreation of the starship from the original Star Wars trilogy. 114 feet long, 43 feet wide. It is the largest prop structure ever constructed for a theme park installation. This is not a recreation of a film set. It is a recreation of a place that was never real, made real. The ship is not a ride. It is an environment. Guests walk beneath it, around it. The hull panels, the vents, the landing gear struts, all fabricated to specifications derived from the original film models. Millennium Falcon. Smugglers Run is the first of the two major attractions in Galaxy's Edge. The queue passes through the underside of the Falcon itself, the cargo hold, the engine room, the main corridor. Then the queue passes through a corridor that gives exclusive views of the top side of the Falcon. The details are breathtaking. At several points, characters from the Star Wars narrative appear on screens and speak directly to you. The walk from the land entrance to the ride cockpit is approximately 600 meters. Guests are assigned roles: pilot, gunner, or engineer. Each role affects how the mission unfolds. The ride itself is a motion-based simulator. The cockpit moves to simulate flight. You are a smuggler. The ride does not pretend otherwise. At this point, it was already starting to get dark. There's still so much to do. There's still so much to see. The Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run was fun, but the next ride is going to be epic. It is probably the most popular ride in the whole park. As we made our way towards the next ride, we were once again amazed by the attention to details of each of the installations. Everything felt just like in the movie. Actually, no. Everything felt even better than in the movie. Even visitors who have never watched Star Wars will recognize this. Rise of Resistance opened at Disneyland in January of 2020. It is consistently ranked the highest-rated theme park attraction in North America. The attraction is not a single experience. It is a sequence of 5 distinct environments. From the outdoor queue to the final escape, the total journey lasts between 18 and 22 minutes. The attraction features more than 50 audio animatronic figures. The walk from the Galaxy's Edge entrance to the boarding point is approximately 800 meters. The path leads through forest, through rockwork corridors, and into a briefing room. A holographic ray addresses the guests directly. She tells you the resistance needs you. She tells you the mission is dangerous. She tells you to be ready. The first act of the attraction is a transport pod. Guests enter what appears to be a resistance transport vehicle. The vehicle is loaded. The doors seal. The screens activate. Hyperspace. The transport is captured by a first-order Star Destroyer. What follows requires a moment to absorb. The transport bay opens, and the guests are no longer in a theme park. The Star Destroyer hangar is approximately 70 feet long. The Stormtrooper Battalion is a combination of audio-animatronic figures and projection. The effect is of a military force of genuine size. The scale of the space is not theme park scale. It is architectural scale. Disney built an actual environment, a room the size of a large warehouse, and filled it with storytelling. This section of the attraction lasts approximately 90 seconds. It is the 90 seconds most guests cite when asked about Rise of the Resistance. What follows is the actual ride, a trackless vehicle chase through the interior of the Star Destroyer. there are near escapes. There is a laser battle in a corridor 2 stories tall. The ride's climactic moment involves a simulated freefall. For 5 minutes and 30 seconds of physical ride time, the outside world does not exist. By 7 in the evening, 15 hours after the day began, the park had changed. The crowd had thinned visibly. Families with young children had filtered out. The pace of those remaining had dropped. The cobblestones were dry now. The rain had stopped hours ago. Disneyland After Dark is a different park. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is a gentle, dark ride. Guests board large honeypot vehicles and travel through scenes from the original A. Milne stories. A park at the end of the day is worth observing. The castle is lit. The turrets glow pink and blue and gold. The lighting fixtures along Main Street are all original, maintained to the 1955 specification. The New Orleans Square gas lamps cast amber pools across wet stone. It is, in the end, extraordinarily beautiful. New Orleans Square at night is a different proposition entirely. The wrought iron balconies above the shops are strung with soft warm bulbs. Vines trail down from them, still wet from the afternoon rain. The narrow streets bend and curve. You cannot see more than 30 meters ahead. That is deliberate. Disney does not want you to see what is coming. They want you to discover it. New Orleans Square was the last project Walt Disney personally supervised before his death in December 1966. He never saw it open. It opened in July 1966, 6 months before he died. Walking through it at night, you get the sense that someone loved this place very carefully. The details are too precise for indifference. Indiana Jones Adventure, Temple of the Forbidden Eye, opened in 1995. It remains one of the most technically complex attractions in the park. The queue winds through an excavation site for approximately 800 meters. Torchlit corridors, ancient scripts, a full-scale Jeep buried in the dig site. The queue is like Rise of the Resistance, a designed experience in itself. The ride vehicle is a large troop transport carrying 12 passengers. It operates on a hydraulic platform that allows for heave, pitch, and roll simulation. The ride lasts approximately 3.5 minutes. At 9 in the evening, the wait is under 20 minutes. Sleeping Beauty Castle at night is not what you expect. There are no projections, no spectacle, no performance. It simply glows. Pink and gold light from below. There's still one part of the park that we have not visited yet. And for that, we need to cross the entire Fantasyland. In order to get there, what remains is everyone who refused to leave. And they are walking differently. Slower, quieter, feet aching but not ready to admit it. The park reads it and responds. The lighting drops a register. Warmer, lower, more deliberate. Shops glow amber through their windows. The crowds that made the afternoon feel relentless have thinned to something almost intimate. You can hear your own footsteps on the wet stone. You cannot hear them at noon. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that does not want to go home. It wants one more thing. It does not know what. It just keeps walking. Mickey's Toontown is the newest land in the Disneyland park. It was comprehensively rebuilt and reopened in 2023. The zone is built entirely around the residents of Toontown. Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, and the extended cast. Its architecture is deliberately impossible. Buildings lean, windows are oval, colors are absolute. The design language is derived from two-dimensional animated cartoons rendered in 3 dimensions. Walking through it produces a specific kind of visual confusion. Nothing is plumb. Nothing is level. Nothing is straight. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway opened at Disneyland in 2023. It is the first ever ride-through attraction to feature Mickey Mouse as its protagonist. The ride uses a trackless vehicle system. Each car moves independently, without a fixed track, allowing for complex choreography between vehicles. The story pulls guests into a television screen and makes them part of the animated world. The technology required to create seamless transitions between physical and animated scenes took 5 years to develop. While walking through Mickey's Toontown, you are constantly in awe by the leaning buildings and the exaggerated color. Further up, the camera captures the visual absurdity. A house that should not stand but does. My wife pauses and looks up at a deliberately tilted chimney. Inside Mickey's Toontown, guests can visit Mickey and Minnie in their respective homes. Each interaction typically lasts under 60 seconds. In that 60-second window, something unusual happens consistently. Adults who have spent the day maintaining the posture of competent, rational professionals abandon it entirely. They hold their hats. They grin. They lean in for the photo. The park does something to the human pretense of dignity. It has been doing it reliably for 70 years. We moved through Tomorrowland, the zone built for the future. One last time. It felt, at this hour, less like the future than like a memory of someone else's future. The monorail track was dark. The Space Mountain queue was still running. But we had done enough. We turned back toward Main Street. The park was closing in 40 minutes. We assumed the crowd had gone home. We were wrong. Main Street was full. Thousands of guests, every one of them as tired as we were, had quietly moved back to this street. They had been waiting for this. The Disney Nighttime Spectacular combines projection mapping, laser lighting, and orchestrated music. The Main Street USA buildings serve as the projection surface. The facades come alive with animated sequences from the Disney catalog. The best viewing position is from the Central Plaza end of Main Street, with the castle directly ahead. The theory of Disneyland is that the ordinary rules of the world, age, cynicism, urgency, miserable weather, can be temporarily suspended. For 15 hours inside 160 acres of constructed imagination, that theory holds. But consider what it implies. If a theme park can architect an environment that systematically dismantles adult anxiety, eliminates baseline stress, and suspends economic rationality for an entire day, what happens if we apply the same principles elsewhere?